Greetings once again, demons. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with Dead Rock, where students have enrolled in the titular Dead Rock in order to hone their demonic skills and the bloodlines of their ancestors to become the next demon lord sent to the human plane in order to take over and rule. But the young man Yakuto, with the blood of the Black Dragon, has an alternative motive: to take down the head of the Dead Rock and the ruler of the demon world, God. As he kills his teacher and takes over the class, he explains to his classmates that the so-called God, as it were, is a false god, and not the true ruler of the demon realm, as Yakuto seeks to bring about what existed before the one they know as God. Now, of course, several of his classmates are apprehensive about such a thing. Everyone except Freya, who's kind of into Yakuto at this point, and Mikoto even going along with it just because she's interested in what Yakuto is really up to, believing his motives are not truly what he's seeking, at least what he stated that he's after. While some of the other students who aren't going along with it simply just wish to stay out of Yakuto's way. They won't stop him, but they don't wish to help him. But the young man Ryzen, Yakuto's classmate, finds himself with no other choice, as after getting into an altercation with the chef of Dead Rock, who was a lot more powerful than he seemed, after Ryzen's memories of a tragic event triggered his rage and ire, Ryzen found himself cut to pieces, quite literally. But Yakuto was determined and stitched Humpty Dumpty back together again, reviving him with Mikoto's lich magic, much like their teacher, Professor Maxwell. And thus it looks as though Ryzen will be in the debt of Yakuto, helping him with his plan whether he wants to or not. But why is Yakuto so determined to have his fellow students in on this mission to kill a god? Is it simply because they're the only class who had to enter into the school the hard way, and thus they are the more capable of the student body? Or is Mikoto right, and there's something deeper to Yakuto's motivation? Join me as I find out, won't you? Right, Dead Rock, Chapter 3, Classroom Massacre. You know, it's funny, the only thing keeping Ryzen from looking like Gray was the fact that he had long hair, and much like Shiki from Eden Zero, Ryzen has his hair cut. And again, I'm kind of bummed, because I like the way Mashima draws guys with long hair, but he always goes for the default short hair. It is so rare for him to allow a character to keep long hair. I'm just glad Gajeel never got his hair cut. Ugh. Oh, we're actually seeing the human world. I actually thought it was going to be a thing that it was kept a mystery, like, throughout most of the series. But no, our chapter picks up in the human world, in the Evet region, a very desolate and barren land, and I like the touch where you see several bridges that would go over riverways, but there's nothing. There's no water. I think we pick up in a church where the priest says, "Oh God, please save us, we beg of you." Yeah, he's up at the altar with the congregation all praying as well. The priest says, "The lengthy drought has kept us from growing any crops in our village, and we lack a sufficient supply of drinking water now as well." Oof, that's a rough situation. Also, what kind of effigy are they praying to? Some bird? Weird. The priest says, "We are all your children, Selt? Is that their god? Selt? Huh. We have lived honestly for hundreds of years. Please grant us your mercy." And then the effigy upon the altar starts to shine. Oh jeez. The priest looks on in shock as a very familiar godly figure appears. The congregation say, "Surely it can't be." The priest says, "It's impossible." And then we see him, the leader of the dead world, the demon world, who comes forth, floating before the congregation, saying, "I am God." People look on in shock, with tears in their eyes. The priests also crying, says, "Such a divine countenance." God looks upon them, saying, "My human children, you wish for rain?" The congregation says, "Oh God, will you grant our wish?" God raises a finger, saying, "Behold, the work of God." And thus outside, it begins to rain. The people outside say, "Rain? It's raining! It's raining!" The people are overjoyed, saying, "Oh, it's a miracle. Rain has come to our village. Ah, what a wonderful day. We're saved." Where's the catch? Is this a monkey's paw situation where he floods the town? Or is the catch for the rain all of their soul? The people say, "Oh God, we are the children of Selt. Oh God." Selt. Is his name Selt? Or is that who they think he is? God then says, "This is a blessed rain." Oh, what the heck? Suddenly, pillars of water descend on the village, destroying it, cracking the very earth itself. The priest looks up, saying, "Huh?" People look on, saying, "What's this? Giant pillars of water?" One person who is in the way of one of the pillars can only scream as they are smashed. Gee. And just destruction literally rains on the village. Pillars of water ripping through the earth, the buildings, the people, all destroyed. God looks on and smiles and says, "So, that was a harvest god, right? Sorry, I killed that one a long time ago." Ah, gee. No one is left standing. Not man, woman, child, building, the church, all of it crumbled, destroyed, broken. God gives a sinister smile, saying, "What a waste of time. Playing with humans isn't even good for killing time." Well, if we had to find out how much of a bastard he actually was, there you go. So is this like a world where no hero has been able to rise up to the demon lord? Well, god of the demon realm, I should say. A world where no hero exists, I guess. But this is just a small town. Who knows how the rest of the world is? We pick back up in the demon world at Dead Rock. We see, I guess, a professor in a plant course or something over one plant saying, "This poisonous plant, the heath, mainly grows around level 400 of hell. If it's not handled properly, it can be lethally dangerous." Mikoto and Hien listen intently. Frey is sound asleep. The recently revived Ryzen looks on in disdain. Chako turns to Hani and says, "Don't eat it, Haniwa." Hani says, "Like I would. Are you stupid?" While Yakuto is taking note. He then raises his hand saying, "Sensei." The professor says, "What is it, Yakuto?" Yakuto asks, "If God was poison with this, would even he die?" Just coming right out and saying it. Ryzen says, "That little." Makoto leans in saying, "I'm curious too." The professor says, "Don't be foolish. Of course God wouldn't die from mere poison." Yakuto says, "Right. Thank you." Oh my god. The bell rings, and I guess class is over. As the students of Class F group up, Ryzen says they suddenly sprang a poison class on us. Makoto says it covered how to refine it and how to manage it. It was very educational. Hani says, "I knew there were gonna be a lot of scary classes." Frey is excited, saying, "Maybe the next one will be about cooking birds." And Chako tells her, "I'll kill you." Meanwhile, Yakuto is contemplating, saying, "So, poisoning him is out, huh?" Hien tells him, questions, "You didn't really think you could kill him so easily, did you?" I love that Hien is just kind of going along with it at this point. Yakuto tells him, "Of course not. I told you I'd need all of your help." Ryzen says, "I never said I'd help you out." The Frey interrupts, saying, "Hey, what's that on your forehead?" Mikoto says, "That's a cooling talisman. He's a corpse, so his body will rot if I take that off." Ugh. Frey says, "Gross." Yakuto's interested, saying, "Can I try it? Just once?" Ryzen shouts, "Give me a friggin' break." Hien comes in saying, "If you're a corpse, you're immortal in a sense." But Ryzen says, "I already died once." He's like, "Yeah, what good is immortality if you have to die in order to achieve it?" Mikoto says, "No, theoretically, I'm controlling him, so if I die, he'll die too. Mikoto leans in on Ryzen saying, do your utmost to protect me, Sir Knight. Ryzen has no response to this, though it does leave me kind of wondering, does she constantly have to output her ability in order to keep him alive? Or is it just that she casts the spell, he's alive now permanently, as long as she is alive? I wonder. Suddenly the doors burst open, and a whole bunch of monstrous students enter, saying, hey you, you're Class F, ain't you? None of the students of Class F really respond too much, as a horde of students just start pouring in. One student says, we're Class D. 2 of our little lambs were killed in the cafeteria yesterday. Alright. They were picking a fight with Ryzen, and he only responded in kind. Of course, they wouldn't see it that way. The student with a rose in his mouth says, we'll make you pay for that. Yakuto points to Ryzen saying, this guy did that. With Ryzen saying, hey. Yakuto then takes his stuff and goes scampering out saying, I had nothing to do with it, so please excuse me. I have something I need to take care of. He's really still trying to portray that meek persona, isn't he? Ryzen gets angry saying, why you little? Hien says, running away without us? And Hani questions, shouldn't our class all band together? Are you stupid? But Yakuto just waves them off saying, I'll leave the rest to you guys. He really does love treating them as minions, and he just goes racing down the halls. Makoto says, he really left. Ryzen is trembling with anger saying, and his parting words were like something the hero says before going off to face the final boss. But Frey, I should say, confidently stands before the students of Class D saying, well, it's not like it matters against these small fries. The students get pissed saying, excuse me? Hani shakes her head saying, guess we don't have much choice. Bird, you can fight, right? Hey, Hani's a dude, right? I keep wanting to say that Hani's a girl. I'm pretty sure Hani identifies male. And Hani turns to see that Choco is just gone. Hani says, whoa, fled the coop already. Meanwhile, Hien prepares his sword saying, geez, as the students of Class D rush in saying, you're dead meat. Ryzen says, the class I joined turned out to be a real pain. And with one slash of his sword, he encases several of the students in ice. Next up is Frey saying, here I come, igniting her fist, going in for a mighty inflamed punch. And also a shot of her butt that leaves me questioning, is she wearing underwear? Like, I'm sorry, look, there's too much butt cheek on display there for her to be wearing underwear. Or at the very least, she's wearing a thong. Hien continues to slash down students. Frey dodges punches. Hani goes in with his mighty hammer. Oh, bringing down the lightning as he smashes one student. Ryzen, not wanting to be left out, slashes down some students as well. The students of Class D say, what's with these guys? They're crazy strong. Yeah, these are the students who had to actually fight to get in. Oh, they say Narcissus' son. Narcissus says, worry not. Yeah, Narcissus. Isn't he from, Greek mythology? Narcissus says, this is the botany classroom, is it not? And my root is a treant, huh? I can control the poisonous plants. And Narcissus causes all of the plants in the area to start to grow rapidly. Ooh, and poison starts to billow forth from them. Hani says, this is bad. These are the He's plants from today's class. Hien tells them, block your mouths, as he covers his mouth with his cloak. Frey covers her mouth. Meanwhile, Makoto, who's just sitting down nonchalantly covering her mouth, says, Ryzen, could you suck it all up? Ryzen says, are you crazy? But Makoto tells him, it's not like the poison can kill you. Ryzen smiles saying, oh, I get it. And he proceeds to do just that. He sucks in all the poison. The students freak out saying, he's sucking up the poison. For real? But Ryzen is now in a lot of pain and agony. Makoto tells him, it's gonna hurt, so just endure it. Ryzen falls to the ground saying, you should have said so sooner. Makoto gives a wry smile saying, so, who was cruel to my little puppet? Hien thinks, you were. Hani says, are you stupid? Ooh. But Makoto has an intense look on her face saying, I'd like to thank you properly. Oh, we then cut over to Dead Rock's Chapel of Love and Death. And I don't know how to feel about this area. There are a lot of beds and it looks like a love hotel. And did Yakuto just enter a confessional? He sits down inside saying, nobody will find me here. He pulls out a weird glass orb saying, and sets it down on the confessional table saying, they'll be starting soon. Weird? Whoa, what the heck is this? Dude, this is surreal. I mean, it's obviously some kind of meeting area, but oh my, this is like a visual overload. Mashima, the hell? I feel like he took cues from how sometimes in the fairy tale anime, they would take some standard areas that he'd have, and they just put all these effects and weird stuff going on in it and all this crap. Because, Jesus, it's Dead Rock top level staff meeting. Who's that big guy in the back? He looks like friggin' Kingpin from Into the Spider-Verse. Oh, okay, this is a teacher's meeting, and Yakuto is observing through Maxwell's eyes. Freaky. Yakuto says, I'll look through Maxwell's eyes to collect information. The big guy says, today's meeting is regarding Class F. One guy who looks kind of like, Nero, Poseidon Nero from Eden Zero says, I hear they've got pep. Oh, that explains it. This guy has the root of the Kraken, one of the 4 demon teachers, Boltogar. Yakuto says, Boltogar the Kraken, one of the 4 demon teachers. Yeah, dude, we read the information box. He's in charge of Dead Rock's northern ocean area. A very seductive looking woman with horns and wings says, and there are plenty of cuties too. Tee hee hee. We have the root of the succubus, one of the 4 demon teachers, Lilith. Little on the nose, but okay. Yakuto says, Lilith Sensei, the succubus. She's in charge of the chapel where I am now. Ah. The big man says they killed 2 students on their first day here. And the ogre head chef as well. A man in a mask with horns, kind of looking like Daredevil, says, that's marvelous. Yes, I can't wait to have a fiery duel. This man has the root of Mephisto, one of the 4 demon teachers, Lozen. Yakuto says, Lozen Sensei. He's probably the best fighter out of all the teachers. He's in charge of the death arena. Gee. And the big guy says, Lozen Sensei, you've killed countless students under the pretext of dueling. I'd like you to go easy on them this year. This man has the root of the Gigant, one of the 4 demon teachers, Vice Principal Biren. Yakuto says, and the Vice Principal, Biren Sensei, I'll need to do something about these 4 teachers first. Lozen sneers, saying, we can overlook the deaths of a couple of students. Then we cut to the massacre of Class D. And he says, it's not like they massacred a whole class, and we then see Class D massacred, sprawled out at the feet of Class F, standing over them in triumph. Hani then says to Narcissus, looks like you're out of soldiers. Frey smiles, saying, you still want to do this? Narcissus recoils in terror. Mikoto then says as she steps forward, so many corpses. And as her feet splash through the blood on the ground, she commands, now awaken as my servant. And as the corpses of Class D begin to rise, Narcissus continues to recoil in terror, saying, what in the little lambs are? And as Class D begins to approach him, shambling forward, Narcissus says, stay back, oh God, save me. And it is then that his classmates begin to consume and rip him apart. Jeez. And Frey just winces, saying, ugh. Back in the meeting room, suddenly something appears. On the center table, the teachers react with shock, as does Yakuto. As God appears in the center, the teachers say, Principal. Biren questions, where have you been, sir? While Lilith says, you always look so good. Mwah, mwah. Blowing kisses, I have to assume. Yakuto is shocked, saying, God. Ooh. We then have a flashback to a young Baby Yakuto in a destroyed village. Was that his village in the beginning? Was that his origin, or were we just seeing that God just goes around doing this from time to time? The young Yakuto is bleeding from the head, tears filling his eyes. He looks roughed up. As he looks at his battered hands, there's blood splattered all around him. Fury fills Yakuto's face as he thinks, God. God then calls out, Maxwell-sensei, Class F is yours, isn't it? Maxwell says, Yes, sir. I seem to have a lot of problem children. They're quite the handful. God strides forth towards Maxwell, looming in close on his face, locking eyes with Maxwell, locking eyes with Yakuto. The way that God stares at Maxwell, it's almost as if he's seeing Yakuto beyond that. Yakuto's shocked. And suddenly God just pokes out Maxwell's eyes like a friggin' Three Stooges cartoon. Yakuto is shocked. He recoils in terror, smacking up against the wall of the confessional. He quivers, thinking, he caught me. Oh no, oh no. He goes scrambling out of the confessional, hitting the ground, breathing heavy in terror. But suddenly someone rolls out the left sleeve of his jacket, examining his arm. Oh, it's the cat girl from the other chapter. She examines his arm, kneeling down, saying, It's spreading pretty far. Yakuto looks up at her, questioning, Huh? Who are you? Well, the girl says, So, this means you don't have much time left, Okay, that has to mean that Yakuto must have made some kind of Faustian deal with the Black Dragon, and he only has so much time left to live? Or he was possessed and wants to use it? Something. So he's definitely originally human. And who is this girl? An ally? Why does she have an interest in Yakuto? Is she like Bast or something like that? Or some kind of cat demon? Maybe she'll, a Nekomata or something like that? With the split two tails? Interesting. But Yakuto definitely has some form of infection, maybe. Maybe it's related to why we only ever see him turn his one arm into that of the Black Dragon. I also have to wonder, what does it mean that Class F massacred Class D? And will it really speak to Makoto's abilities if she just, does the same thing she did with Ryzen to them, and they just go about their business? Man, that's a lot of power though, like Jesus. And this is one gory series though. I kinda like it. And it really does show off just how really messed up Mashima can be. Cause I've said it before, Mashima really toned himself down to a certain degree when it came to Fairy Tail. Backstories could get pretty brutal, but man, Rave Master or just Rave, that had some really messed up stuff happen in it. Like, characters could get really brutalized in that series. So, Mashima back to his old tricks. I'm just interested, okay. And man, Yakuto was not prepared for God to just kind of seem to have his number. I mean, how much does God really know? And I'm still wondering about the rest of the human realm. I figured Yakuto had to have come from there, because the way he was talking, it was like, okay, he doesn't like God's way of doing things. Yakuto can get pretty brutal. And we're also back to Mashima's tendency to have like numbered groups, the 4 demon teachers. I'm surprised he doesn't have an Oratian Says in this one too, considering that's one of his staples, but we'll see. This is supposed to be a limited series, so I have to assume he's holding himself back from really bloating this. And he's really going in a different direction from his usual MO. But he's kind of been heading down this route. I've said it before. With Rave, he had an outright hero. Same with Monster Hunter. But then you had the likes of Monster Soul, where a monster. Fairy Tail, if you know what you know about Natsu, not really what you would see as her heroic character, being not to mention the whole Dragon Slayer aspect. And then you have Shiki, who is known as the Demon King with Satan gravity and stuff. And now you have Yakuto, the Black Dragon. And he's always loved his demons and monsters and stuff like that. So honestly speaking, this just feels like the next step for Mashima. I'm just really interested in the end game of all of this. But let me know your thoughts and theories in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.